Welcome to another edition of Hack Off here at the Big Scope, where we delve into deep tech. Now, today we could talk about Wi-Fi, but not the Wi-Fi that you and me are using to download. I've got on the show with me Sudarshan Bosupal, who's the country head for Ruckus Networks. Chief, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
There are so many things I want to ask you because all of us use this and we don't realize the power and potential of it, be it as a consumer or at the enterprise and or even at the government. With so many government digital India projects coming up. We'll delve into that later on. But who is Ruckus Networks? What do you folks do? Where do you fit in this entire gamut of Wi-Fi technology?
Okay, to begin with, Ruckus was born in 2004 to do IPTV over Wi-Fi.
It sounds like you're still that massive startup then.
Yeah, I still sound like that because I've been part of Ruckus for the last 10 years and the DNA still remains the same. So when all vendors were struggling to do data over Wi-Fi on a 11G technology, we came up and said we could stream high definition content over 11G network. And that was all because of our patented technology, which we call beamflex, basically beamforming and kind of stuff. And so we proved to the world that with this patented technology, we can transform Wi-Fi from being just a toy to a tool, which is a more serious version, where people were not even taking Wi-Fi seriously. So then we took the same technology and moved it to the enterprise segment. After selling millions of our devices into every home for IPTV in the Europe and US markets, we brought the same technology to enterprise. And clearly, we from inception we always said, and we've proven that we make the best Wi-Fi on the planet. Right? So the most reliable Wi-Fi that you have ever witnessed or experienced comes from Ruckus. So 2012 we went public.
Yes.
Right. We went public in 2012. So from a startup, we moved into being a public company. We're growing at a great pace. We continued our focus on R&D, being more of an R&D company till 2016 when Brocade decided they needed to complete their entire solution, and at the edge they needed a very strong partner, and they announced our acquisition. And then 2016 November, Broadcom bought Brocade, so we moved into Broadcom for a short duration, and then Aris picked up the Ruckus bit.
So that did affect your business a little bit during that period. I mean, naturally so, but
of course, we did see while we didn't see a lot of our existing customer or repeat business being affected. We saw that in new acquisitions there was a slowdown for a temporary period of around 2 quarters maybe. Then when we carved out a unit and said, okay, we are going to be dealt with separately and focus back like it was Ruckus, we saw the customers being more happier than the employees actually, right? So we had people coming and saying, welcome back, we waited for so long. We were scared that an amazing technology like yours might get lost in all these acquisitions, so we are extremely happy.
But Chief, during this period, since you were, it's but natural, when a transition like that happens with any company, any organization. So, was it difficult for you, on an individual level when you were going out to customers, explaining them? I know it's been since 2016 now, and we're talking about this in 2018. But if your personal experience when you were even if it's a repeat customer, was there ever a level of doubt in terms of what will be the new pricing, where will you sell, and those kind of things? Was there a sense of doubt in the customers for your repeat customers, or when you were going out to new customers during that period? How did you deal with it personally?
Okay.
Because these are customers you have gained. These are customers you've gained over the years. There's a certain level of commitment you have. So was there a sense of doubt from their side?
Exactly. So great point. The thing is, we've seen so many Wi-Fi acquisitions and products.
Oh yes.
Brands killed, right? But for us, what we had built was a cult, right? When it comes to Ruckus customers, they're a cult. They'll love us. Once you use Ruckus, you fall in love with us, because there's nothing like it even close to it in performance, right? So when this acquisition happened, we constantly had customers worrying about it, definitely, but our interactions increased with the customers and sitting with them, talking to them, saying that we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back. There's nothing like this brand is going to die, right? And the existing customers kept buying, if they needed 100 APs, they would probably buy 60, 70, stretch the cycle further instead of moving to another vendor and giving us time to come back, right? They said, no, we want to use only this product. But as an IT manager or a CIO or a CTO, I have to take it more cautiously, but we are with you. We are not going to shift technologies, we are with you, be it enterprise customers, be it telecom service providers. You know how the service providers are, and in spite of that, service providers continued buying Ruckus. They said, this is the only thing that works. This is the only thing that works for the networks that we built, right? We built like the 8 stadium IPL stadiums across the country. Wi-Fi was built by Reliance Jio, completely on Ruckus. We were the only people who could make it happen. To capacity of stadiums which are like 52,000, 55,000 spectators sitting there, and you're trying to give each one 5 Mbps. Imagine the density that the Wi-Fi network has to handle. We built a magic network. So people trust us to build the right network. So they gave us the time. They said, we can delay, we can, do slow down our network growth for another few months. But I don't want to buy an XYZ and add it to our network. So that's what happened. And to everybody's good, when Aris bought us, they made us part of the enterprise business and said, run as a separate network, separate unit within Aris, which has only Wi-Fi and switching, and do what you all do best. We know you guys are kick-ass doing this stuff. Continue doing that.
Correct. So I'll just draw back a little bit. You mentioned a very interesting point. I remember there was news going on during that point of time when, because people might talk about Jio. So here's a funny thing which happens in media, and when we talk, we say mobility is a big thing in India. Even in tier 3, tier 4 towns, the people have access to cheaper data, cheaper smartphones, and all of that. But then publicly, we don't never acknowledge the fact that there is some technology behind that which is allowing it to function. So the IPL thing that you mentioned, what did you exactly do in that process? You help me understand. Okay. It's like you basically gave the Wi-Fi to the IPL.
Right. So this is so across the globe we've done multiple stadiums, we've done all that stuff. But India has always been a little slower because of our laws, the security rules, and everything else that is in the country. The stadiums were not allowed to deploy Wi-Fi till like 2016 timeframes, right?
Wow.
It was more of a security concern and kind of stuff. So they were not allowing Wi-Fi to be deployed in stadiums. And then came, Jio, who went and met who worked with all the authorities to get all the, permissions to do it, and also were able to evince the necessity of a Wi-Fi network and what change it can bring on into the stadium. Now, with all the apps that you have, whether it's Facebooks and WhatsApps and Twitters, every individual is sitting with a smartphone, some kind of a smart handheld device there, trying to upload something or view some details. Okay. So in today's world, it becomes a basic necessity for an individual to have a strong network there. Now, LTE, 3G and all that cannot handle these kind of capacities in dense stadium areas. So the only go you have is offload to Wi-Fi, right? So when Jio came and said, can you guys actually design an telco grade Wi-Fi network, right? We want each individual to be getting X amount of bandwidth. It's not about you getting multiple lines on your phone saying that you have a Wi-Fi network, but you're not able to do anything over it, right? When you say ubiquitous, I have ubiquitous coverage, but is it a reliable coverage? Am I able to work on it, right? So I said, can you guys do it? We said, we can do it. right? And we are the only ones who can do it. So that's the confidence level we have because of our patented technologies and the kind of the teams that we have built efficiently on this network. So what we did, on an average, each stadium had like 500 to 600 access points deployed. Narrow beam access points, which will only cater to 15 people. Each access point is like 15, 20 people. We restricted it, changed it wherever the density is less. In some stands, they expect density less, so you need access points which cover a larger area.
Correct.
In some stands, you have dense, the number of people sitting are like in full capacity. You need one access point for every 15, 20 people. Correct. So this was all designed. We had our team fly over from across the globe. I mean, we have an extremely efficient team in India, but the timelines given were like, you need to complete a stadium in a week's time.
What was the timeline given to you?
For each stadium, they give us a week's time. When it actually takes 2 to 3 months to do a stadium, right? And they came and said, okay, we want these 4 stadiums done in this month. Like, let's get practical. They said, no, we don't have time. So I had to mobilize teams from across the globe to come and work with the India team and deploy people parallelly across from Mohali, Dharamshala till the Bangalore stadiums. We had people working in parallel, designing it, and we delivered one of the best stadium networks that is available today in the world. Reliance managed to build that stuff. They were serious about it. We don't want to set up a hotspot.
Correct.
It's not like a hotspot, right? This is serious telco grade Wi-Fi network. Correct. So that's what we built. We put our highest end access points. Though the network was designed for a 2.4 gigahertz, because most of the cell phones in India are still on 2.4
Correct.
and not 5.8.
Correct.
So majority was targeted towards the 2.4 and less capacity on the 5.8. So a lot of research done, but everything done with a time constraint and delivered successfully. I even remember Reliance going out into the media and telling that we built the best stadium Wi-Fi network in the world. So that's true.
You're like the silent horse behind.
Yes. The technology there.
And that's fascinating, really fascinating. So tell me that to that. I mean, I'll go to the other questions, but you talked about the scope of work and in a small given point of time. So, and with respect to what the current government is running, there are so many different schemes which has a concept of digital into it. Digital this, digital that. I mean, under the garb of digital India, there are so many projects running. Now, there was a BharatNet project which also came up. So, how are you working with the government of India, and how much of it contributes to your current revenue data?
Sure.
So, because that is also, since you talked about scale, I mean, that it's a huge scale, large scale project the government has.
Yeah. So, we started Ruckus in India 10 years back. Right? So February 1st, 2008 is when I started Ruckus operations in India. We went through that phase where, nobody is serious about it. We talked to telecom operators saying, 3G offload is your next thing. You need to be ready. You need to have real estate in terms of APs being deployed on every building top, right? But things were going on, and always, Wi-Fi has been given a stepmotherly treatment, right? So, stepchild, and the license spectrum is their key business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So there was not much focus. Government set up a NOFN body called NOFN, National Optic Fiber Network.
Yes.
So the initiative this was in 2011. The initiative was to connect the rural segment, which is like 625,000 villages across the country, or 250,000 panchayats basically, to provide them fiber to the periphery at least, and then the last mile was through Wi-Fi.
Yes.
So that NOFN was renamed to BharatNet in 2015,
yes.
right? So from 2014, when the new government started the whole digital India initiatives, we have seen a whole paradigm shift on how Wi-Fi is being used. They're trying to use. They know Wi-Fi is a robust, secure solution, and for last mile, this is not only the robust solution, but the most cost-effective solution to get to the rural areas, which is the most challenging segment for us. Whether the government wants to do e-governance, e-health, e-education, any of these, you need that last mile connectivity, and nothing but Wi-Fi can provide that. You can have a 3G, you can have an LTE, but the coverage is always a challenge. The last mile coverage is always a challenge. So when BharatNet came in and this whole fiber initiative is rolling out effectively, and they are meeting all their deadlines, actually, they're meeting all their deadlines that they are setting up. We at the Edge are working on multiple rural connectivity projects with them where the Wi-Fi is being used. So for example, from the periphery of the village where the fiber is terminated,
Correct.
You take a point-to-point link into the village, maybe the panchayat office, right? So you connect it there. Then you have one access point there, and another one which is meshed at the school, one at the post office, and one at the hospital, right? So they will do 3 or 4 hotspots in a village where people get good access, and students get access to Wi-Fi networks. So with that kind of a thing, the government has started off with the rural connectivity projects. On the second phase, they're going to come into the districts.
Correct.
Right?
So you've already done that.
We are already part of many of these projects in different forms. Whether it's so one is that rural connectivity angle, the other one is the smart city angle, right? Where government identified 100 smart cities that they want to go ahead with. But right now, on the first phase is the first 20 smart cities that they want to focus on. I think around 10 have already been allotted, and we got of many of them. I'm not able to give you the names and all that in this discussion, but we got many of them. So whether it's smart cities or rural connectivity, or they also embarked like 2 years back on connecting all the tourist locations in the country, right, through the BSNL network. So we played a huge role, deployed thousands of access points in hotspots across the country, went into temples, Taj Mahal, the Dashaswamedh Ghats in the north, across the country, hotspots created, connected classrooms. The next thing is MHRD is come up with, connecting the campuses, 400 universities across the country. We are playing a significant role in the campus network equipment being used and the whole campus network design that is happening. So Ruckus, while we are strong in the enterprise segment, which is be it hospitality and education, with 2014 and the new government coming in and the new initiatives, we are playing a considerable role in all these projects, hence enhancing our revenues in the country. Today, India is one of the fastest growing country in terms of business within Ruckus.
So how do you secure that? I mean, because these are so, it's like CCTV cameras, the other day we were working on a story where we looked at how different so many number of millions of CCTV cameras were manufactured by certain companies. Sometimes they do not look into the security aspect of it because they are also internet connected devices. Now, it's very fascinating how you're connecting from a stadium to a tourist place to a small, to say a school in a village. It's fascinating the amount, the scale at which you're connecting people, India with Wi-Fi and with your products. Now, what specifically do you do about security? Because I've sat with black hats or the white hats of the world on a day-to-day basis, and they've showed me how easy it is to get down, break into somebody's network, for example, and use it for a devastating cause. Send across messages, push across messages. What layers of security do you put in? If you could just help me understand.
So today, like you said, one is Wi-Fi for connectivity, and now with the whole IoT coming into the picture and billions of devices being, you have I think I read some report recently where 15 billion Wi-Fi radios are being put into over 6 billion devices, right? So the growth of these devices is huge. The devices used in projects from 11 billion in 2016, they're expecting it to be 20 billion in 2020 and 30 billion in 2020 and 80 billion in 2025. It's growing significantly. The challenges are multiple, right? One, it could be multiple standards coming in. right? You have Zigbees, your LoRa, your BLEs, all this coming at the IoT segment, right? Then you have the Wi-Fi on one side, which is wireless Wi-Fi enabled devices. Then you have these devices, right? And how are you going to integrate this now? By trying to, and these are all running in silos right now. Right? When an enterprise tries to build a network, he has the Zigbee stuff and the LoRa stuff at one silo. Then you have the surveillance and probably location-based services on one, and then you have a Wi-Fi network separately. Now, how do you integrate all this stuff so that you get it to one pane of glass? Everything is being integrated in one level, and security. You probably need another security apparatus to manage all these three. Integrate all these three and manage that stuff, right? So that's where we come in, right? With our solutions for IoT and using the standard. I mean, it's all the IEEE standards or stuff, but we go to the next levels when it comes to managing multiple standards, multiple devices. So in a security, what are the key things? One is the digital certificates. That is the standard.
That's the basic,
right?
correct.
That's the standard. Now, IoT devices are basically non-IP most of the time, headless. They are resource constrained, right? They don't have much resources to even roll out and send out a certificate, right? So with our solution, what we make, the IoT suite that we make, we have we have it's like four modules. Let's say the IoT module. The IoT enabled AP, right? So the IoT module fits into the AP, right? Then you have an IoT controller, virtual controller, which works in tandem with our WLAN controller, right? These four, what it does is it integrates all this and brings it to one pane of management, right? So with that, we take care of the security. For example, by the radio level or application level encryption, we secure the data from the IoT device till the access point, right? And then from the access point to the controller, whether it's MQTT or SSL, we use that to secure the data from the AP to the controller, then from the access point to the controller. And then you have basically the authenticated HTTPS and sessions management to secure the northbound REST calls kind of stuff. So multiple layers of security is built into it, because when an enterprise is trying to build an IoT network, or even today, when you go to the smart cities, the multiple sensors that you're going to put up, whether it is at the parking level sensors or it's weather sensors, it's anything that you're going to put up, each one is working on certain standards. It could be different standards, multiple devices. It becomes very critical for the management to be on one pane, so that you don't have a challenge of trying to manage multiple networks and security breaches happening. So that's how we deal with this stuff. We take it to the next level and control the traffic at each level, secure the traffic at each level.
This is how you're bringing it into the larger enterprise.
Into the larger enterprise network. We are able to isolate or separate the IT traffic and the operational technology traffic, right? And then bring it to the same security system, and it is same onboarding tool that we use for both.
Interesting.
Right? We are able to do that effectively.
You're securing the Wi-Fi as well.
Securing the network.
Other thing, staying around with the enterprise thing. Now, there's also a talk on turnkey subscription-based model, Wi-Fi as a service.
Right.
How far is that? Is there something you folks are also looking at, especially for the enterprise folks?
Okay. So we were the first one to do it to the consumers also in India, right? And enterprise, now every telco is getting into it. So I'll give you, for example, in 2008 actually, there's this company called Ticona, if you heard of it, right? Yes. They were this was the first company which had a vision and the courage to try and build a telco grade wireless broadband network over Wi-Fi. Right? So they tested our access points. We had like basic campus, outdoor APs. They were trying multiple vendors, and then when we went in, it actually really worked. Their network was, you get the fiber to the building top, You get into a community. Let's say it's an apartment complex. You get into the building top. From there, you put one AP on top of the terrace, right? You put a pipe out for like 3 feet or 4 feet or whatever, and the AP is pointing downwards. And then at the balcony, you put a small extender, right? Which is also a Ruckus one, right? And that talks to the AP and then extends that Wi-Fi network indoors. They built this network, and across 40 cities, we deployed 50,000 access points across 40 cities in 2009-10 timeframes, 2 years. Amazing network built. That set the precedent to multiple operators saying, this works and we can try it too. Then it became a race for the who owns the real estate. Because Wi-Fi, I mean, anybody can put up an access point anywhere, right? So people started doing that. Then you start seeing interference, each one's network. Then the guy said, no, this is not going to work. It's unlicensed spectrum. So let's start talking to each other. Where I have an AP, I'll give you an SSID. Where you have an AP, you give an SSID. If you own the cafe coffee days, I won't put up an AP outside and try shooting in. I will take an SSID from you. We'll do the revenue share and get both our customers. So people started forming this whole consortium across time. So that's how the whole consumer network and the retail outlet networks have been built across multiple service providers. Now, once that was done, now the service providers today, they provide bandwidth to the companies, right? They run the lease lines to the companies. And then they said, you know what, why don't we get into managed services, right? When I'm getting the bandwidth, I can also extend it and tell them that, okay, I'm also going to deploy Wi-Fi in your system and I will manage it for you, right? Tomorrow it's going to be some IoT devices that are going to be deployed at the enterprise levels. But today it's like, okay, I'll give you Wi-Fi, I will manage it for you. You don't need to have the headache of managing a Wi-Fi network. Right? So we are seeing telcos, all the tier 1 operators venturing into this. We've seen early guys like Tata's and all have been into this. Now we are seeing a lot. But rest of them are talking about this and are very serious about it. We are part of most of the networks again. The value add that we bring in when it comes to Wi-Fi as a service is for an operator. Because of our beamflex kind of technology, you need lesser number of access points to cover a given area, right? So if an X vendor needs 10 APs, I will need like 7 APs, right? So and I will give you better coverage, reliable coverage, and scalability. Because our controllers, we probably are one of the top vendors who have one controller managing 10,000 access points and 100,000 subscribers on one controller. And with the N+1 network, you can go up till 30,000 subscribers on 30,000 APs on one small network. So for managed services, the telecom operators see a huge value add when they start deploying Ruckus. So we are making good inroads into this model of Wi-Fi as a service in the country, and we're seeing a lot. And they are the SMEs, SMBs, all these guys. They don't want to see. For example, you might have 50 employees. One AP is sufficient of Ruckus, right? Why should he set it up and run that when he's anyway getting a connectivity? He tells him, you put it up and I will pay you monthly. So it's quicker for SMEs and the small SMEs that are there to even mid-size corporates adopting it. The large corporates still own their own networks. They want to.
So it is a thing, Wi-Fi as a service. It's not something new. Also, it's
not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just stay to that point. So you talked about SMBs. I remember you were quoted in another media publication saying, we configure Wi-Fi networks in 60 seconds without any trained IT staff while managing this through an intuitive mobile application. How do you configure this for a large enterprise in 60 seconds?
So from day one, we had this whole, since our inception, we've been telling people, it's like plug and play systems we make, right? The APs that we make work standalone or with a controller, right? So when you and we've launched the Unleashed APs now. Right now, it's as a built-in controller, right? So you don't need an additional controller. For people who don't want to go beyond 25 APs in their organizations, they might just want to put up an AP, and that network will manage itself. Multiple APs will manage itself. So there's no configuration required for the Wi-Fi network to be up and running. So when you have a controller and you run the cables to whatever place, all you have to do is to connect the AP that talks to the controller and configures itself. Right? The network is up and running. Then you can go, and if you want to add some more levels and all that, you can do. But it starts off, and most of them are reaching those levels today. But we were the pioneers in saying, you don't need a separate IT staff or IT team to manage your Wi-Fi network, right? Just put the controller in your data center, and then your APs wherever you put the Ethernet, it will configure itself.
So, a couple of last things, we often change our smartphones. We often change so many devices, whether it's a smart TV at home or so many other things. I mean, isn't the short life cycle of gadgets means the wireless infrastructure has to be refreshed on a regular basis more often than earlier? Has that been a challenge for folks like you?
Not really. So what happens is we've seen Wi-Fi coming from 11A, B, G, N, AC, next AX,
correct.
Right? So it will continue, and that it will every 3-4 years you generally see newer technology advancements happening in the Wi-Fi segment.
Correct.
So what happens is whatever we build is backward compatible, right? So it will support the ABGN devices that you have. I have 11 AC device. It is backward compatible.
Okay.
Now, having said that, Wi-Fi as a technology keeps undergoing upgrades and changes, more and more features being added, and that's why the AX is going to be a gigabit speed stuff, and that's because all the applications and apps and whatever are coming in are hungry for bandwidth. So you need to make it. These advancements only help in all these to ensure to cater to all these new stuff that is coming. The amount of video that we consume today is crazy. Whether it's YouTube, downloads that's happening is crazy. So if you're running it on a Wi-Fi network, you need to have that kind of bandwidth to do this effectively. So in parallel, Wi-Fi is going through its evolution and evolving.
There's so much talk on AX nowadays. .AX nowadays. So tell me something. Now, you have a set of it's .AX, 11AX. So there are a lot of sets. But on the other hand, we talked about IoT right now. If you look at IoT products, I mean, even this watch is an IoT product. The smartphone is an IoT product. Like anything connected to the internet is an IoT product. The problem with IoT is there is no set of standards for any of the devices. So does that create an issue when you're trying to work with, say, an enterprise who have so many different IoT products and they want you to set up Wi-Fi for these products? Does that create a problem technically?
In the current scenario, everybody is trying to solve this problem. It does create a problem, multiple standards. Now, like I said, I mentioned Zigbee, BLE,
exactly, correct.
LoRa,
correct.
all these prominent standards that are there. Now, we've launched our I100, which is the IoT module, which will support both Zigbee and BLE. So when you're integrating, and then slowly, we also keep accommodating more and more of these prominent standards that are established in the market, and ensure that the customer has, like I said, one pane where he can manage everything, right? So it is going to be a constant development on both ends, right? There you're going to see multiple standards coming in, and here you're going to see us trying to adapt to the changes that's happening and getting them in. So, but that's going to be a constant thing for all.
Okay. So that really fascinates me. I mean, the other day I walked into not the other day, this is around 4 months back. I was roaming around nearby Shenzhen, and I saw it's like every other shop is an IoT vendor. I'm like, he's creating that, he's creating a smart band, and I was taken aback by that. But then everything was different. None of them had a set standard. There was no security layer on top of it. Even there's no physical. But CCTVs, they don't have security layers on top of it, right? So, and then we have players like you. So I was really curious. I mean, there's an interesting conundrum which
it limits our our efficiency today. But yeah, so what we can do is only pick up the most established standards and conform to them and ensure that they work in one integrated network.
Correct.
There may be many others who are just coming up with a lot of stuff, but they have to come to a standard. More people adapt those. We say, okay, there is a demand for this. Then we work towards it. So that's how it's going to work. At least for the next few years, that is going to be the way it's going to happen.
Absolutely. One last thing. Next couple of quarters, what are we going to see new from Ruckus in India at least?
So right now. So I think I mentioned to you that we are market leaders in hospitality, for example. Right? In all the 4-star, 5-star properties, whether it's Indian brands or MNC brands, we probably own 75% of the market share, right? What goes into the hotels. Then comes education, which is a huge market. And we've been constantly growing, deploying. The largest of education networks are on Ruckus, campus networks are on Ruckus. Now the new vertical what we're seeing is the whole government initiatives and the telecom operators adding to it. So right now we are not only talking about coming up with newer products, great products with probably AX coming in shortly, but we are also talking about design in India and design for India. This whole large initiatives and the volumes of business that is going to happen justifies or demands for any OEM to customize for India, right? My needs are not the same as in your countries. My country is different. Owing to the large population and the number of villages that is being spread, even now, I think 30% of the broadband networks is 75% of the broadband network is in 30 cities, right? So where is this going to grow, right? But at the same time, if you look like 5 years back, the broadband penetration was like 15 million, around 1% of the company's population. Today, we have touched in the last 4 or 5 years, we have done 300 million broadband connections. So it is growing. So we vendors have to think how we adapt to this requirement. What does India need specifically? What is different? And this is what we're doing right now. I mean, the whole management is involved and all eyes on India, trying to say, okay, what is required for us to tweak or fine tune.
So you have an R&D center.
We have an R&D center. Yeah, we have close to 400 people in Bangalore.
Okay.
We also have a global support center based in Bangalore.
So are you manufacturing anything here? Like
we have not started manufacturing. These are all our R&D labs. Where most of our prominent products, high-end products, are designed from Bangalore. But manufacturing is something that people have been asking us.
Correct.
We have not ruled out the option, but I will leave that to the management to decide when they think they want to do this.
Because there is the old adage which I've been hearing from a lot of these hardware accelerators across the world is that it's better to research in India, manufacture in China, and then sell it in Europe and Asia.
Which has been true
for a long time.
But with the Make in India initiatives and the government being more friendly, ease of doing business coming in, I'm sure the government is going to bring in that value add for people to come and manufacture. I don't know, maybe match the China pricing or Malaysia pricing, or better it when you're manufacturing in India and then you ship it out. If we can do that just to meet the demand for India, I would be extremely happy. But again, I leave that to the management. But
Absolutely.
What I see is that the volumes in our business is going to grow significantly, and I'm sure many of them are considering this.
Considering the speed of so many projects coming up.
Exactly. No, and the time frames, right? The government, for a change, I'm seeing a government holding everybody accountable for the project. We're seeing projects being rolled out. You're accountable for it, monitored for timelines. We are watching you, right? We want it delivered. So with that, other manufacturing facilities, importing it into India, you can save a lot of time also when you start manufacturing here. So a lot of them are looking at it. How do we get? I want 10,000 APs in a week's time. Seriously. So how do I, make more facilities to match the India requirement, or how do I get the whole thing to India and make it here?
No, it'll be much easier.
Exactly.
Better for you. I mean, even cost-wise, if you start manufacturing all those API.
But it's but since we're seeing this initially happening, where we will probably wait for some more time, and then the management will decide.
Absolutely. So that was Sudarshan from Ruckus. Talking to us about his journey in terms of how they created Wi-Fi for IPL, to doing things like Wi-Fi as a service, and also taking care of IoT security at the other end. Sudarshan, was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for
Great talking to you too. Thank you.